Hey folks, welcome to the 2020 Odyssey Swim Run in Austin. It's our first ever event here. It's the first swim run to ever take place in Texas, which we're just completely stoked about. I'm Lars Finanger. I'm one of the race directors and co-founders, and Aaron Pallion is currently in Michigan, but making his way down to the good old state of Texas here in a couple of days. And we're Monday of race week, and we're just going to be counting the days until Saturday when we're going to be making our way out to Pace Bend for the kids race and for the 5K, and then of course the big event on Sunday for the first swim run. So what we're going to do today is go through. This is going to be the pre-race briefing. So we're going to go through all the information that typically we would have in person at our athlete briefing. We will be on hand on Saturday at packet pickup to go over any questions that anyone has and to show you physically what course signage looks like. For example, the teardrop flags that'll be out on the swim course, the flagging tape that will look like this, that we'll have out on the run course. So you can physically see what you're going to be looking for on race day. But really, we're just going to be going over the general rules of the road, the course today. So with that said, for many of you, this is going to be your first ever swim run. We do have a few veterans who have been out there and who have experienced one of our Odyssey races before, or an Otolo race, or our friends over in North Carolina, one of their races. But for the most part, most of you guys are first timers, and so we're totally thrilled about that. But also, what we want to do is make sure that you know what to expect come race day. And so we're just going to have a little bit of a tutorial going through expectations of what swim run is.
All right, I'm going to share the screen now, Lars. All right, you can see it, right?
Yep, we're good there.
All right, here we go.
So let's go to the next page to, how did we, let's go to how did we get here? So how did we get here? So Otolo, which means island to island in Swedish, was an event that, it wasn't a sport, it was a one singular event that took place in the Swedish Stockholm archipelago. And that race happened over 27 different islands. And it was a beer bet that started it all. Two brothers and then two of their friends wanted to see if they could make their way from one bar that was on one island, 27 islands later, to the next bar. And they bet whoever could make it to the end first could order whatever they wanted, and the team that finished behind would have to pick up the tab. So that was the genesis of this entire wacky thing called Otolo, island to island. And fast forward a number of years, my co-founder, his name was Jeff Cole. He was from Kennebunk, Maine. And he said, hey, he called me up one day and said, I'd love to put one of these on with you in my backyard here in Portland, Maine. And Portland has a series of islands that look a lot like the Stockholm archipelago. And so he hatched this idea to bring the sport of swim run in Otolo to the United States. And this little picture to the right, where you see about a dozen guys in funky wetsuits and no wetsuits, and this was the first ever grouping of a swim run in North America, and it took place at Cape Porpoise, just outside of Kennebunkport, Maine. And so that was pretty fun. And then Jeff Cole is on the old refurbished Coast Guard boat on the left, and unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago. But his adventurous spirit was everything that swim run is about, and he's remembered fondly in each of our races as really the shepherd who brought swim run to North America and founded this all. So yeah, we think of Jeff at each of our races. So that's how we got here today. And you might be wondering what the heck you signed up for. But we're 260 athletes who are going to be at Austin on Sunday. You're coming from 30 different states. Texas is, maybe to no surprise, leading the charge with I think we had about half the field was from Texas, and within Texas, 46 people from Houston area, 24 from Austin, and 17 from San Antonio were leading the track. I think Dallas was about a dozen. And California is number 2, and I think that's in large part in thanks to our friends from California Swimrun down in the San Diego area, and then also our friends up in the Bay Area, the Low Tide Boys, who have really helped out spur things there. And then Colorado, Florida, and Virginia. But yeah, 30 different states. That's awesome. 62% of you are guys and 38% of you are gals. Some of our Casco Bay and Orcas races have had close to 50-50. So I think we definitely aspire to to find those adventurous women who come on out and aren't scared of getting bruised up on these trails that we have. But that's pretty cool that the representation is it is what it is. The youngest athlete on Sunday is 19 years old, and the oldest athlete is 81 years old. That's a pretty incredible spread. So yeah, go find that 81-year-old out on the course and make sure you give him the air fist bump.
I bet that 81-year-old doesn't look 81.
That 81-year-old doesn't look 81, and I bet that 19-year-old is going to do some great things in his life or her life. So Austin, going back to the Otolo really quickly. So they founded this race, and it's really carried on through the sport of swim run, and it's one of the things that makes the sport really uniquely different. Is that the undercurrent of the entire day is just this respect for one another as athletes, and the respect for the nature that you're competing in. And so even outside of all the rules that we really start to pad onto the sport, truly remember that you need to take care of one another out there, whether that's a fellow teammate, whether that's a fellow competitor. Just always have that, just always be aware of who the other athletes are out on the course, and really take care of one another out there. It's important that we stay safe. There are potentially a lot of hazards out there. You're swimming in open water. So the hazards that come with open water, there's also, it's really difficult terrain as well with rocky outcroppings, with in Texas lakes, you got a lot of sticks and trees that can be coming out of the bottom of the lake. And so, look out for one another there, give each other a heads up. And most importantly, have fun out there. This is a really fun sport. Time is something that's fairly irrelevant in the sport of swim run. And so, it kind of takes the aggression level of everyone down, that there's no such thing as a PR or time. So really just, everyone's in the same boat here. Have a great time, and, share the camaraderie out there with one another. And so our connection with Otolo is that we are considered a merit race. And what a merit race does is you and your teammate can earn points to qualify into their world championship race that takes place every September in Stockholm, Sweden. That's a mammoth course. That's 65 kilometers of running, 10 kilometers of swimming over 27 islands. But our Odyssey races, they have qualifying points that will increase your ranking chance to qualify for that. Additionally, Austin, for our overall men's teams, our overall women's teams, and our overall mixed teams in the long course, will have one comp entry respectively for one of the Otolo World Series events. They do have scheduled a World Series event in Catalina, which is off the coast of Los Angeles. And so that's probably the most easily traveled to. but the winner of each of those categories has the option of a comped entry into one of their races. So that's our connection with the Otolo brand and race. And now, importantly, for what we're going to be doing on Sunday, we're going to go over our race course. And this is a fun one. This is going to be you're going to have a nice mix of swimming and running here, some really difficult trail runs. We're just going to jump right in, do an overview of the course, and then we'll get kind of specific about some of our protocols at the start and finish line and talk a little bit about aid stations and such. But so you can see that the start is the same for both the long course and the short course. The start is where that green circle is. And so the start, it starts and finishes inside a private property, which is called Camp Tex Lake. It's going to start with a run that will start out in the property. It'll take you outside of the property. It's a 2-mile run. It will be staggered starts. We'll go into that a little bit more detail at the end. It'll be an individual time trial start, so everyone's starting separately and spaced out. The first swim will be after that initial 2 miles, and it'll be a 600-meter swim over onto another private property, which will be called the Highlands Lake Camp and Conference Center. That's where many of you who are staying in a cabin or in camping will be staying. And so potentially if you brought family or spectators, that'd be a great place for them to see you come in. It's a pretty hilly run inside there. So, but we'll have our first aid station of the course at the end of that before you go into the next swim. The aid station, it looks like, is going to be when you come out of that swim. So then the next swim is going to be just over 1,100 yards. And at this point, the long course and the short course are still together. You're going to have to be heads up racing here. And what heads up racing means is, we are going to have volunteers out there, but it's really up to you to follow signage, to follow course markings. But this is where we're going to have a split in the course. And the split is where
check for a second, Lars. And the flagging that Lars said that we're going to grab that in the back real quick, and just that yellow flagging again. But Lars and John are going to tie that off to trees, bushes, rocks, whatever they can find out there. And so the yellow tape that we developed is long course. The orange tape is short course. So where on the course you see the two courses together, there'll be some mixture of that yellow and orange tape, whether it's tied together or two right next to each other or whatever it is. And then when it splits, obviously you'll only see the yellow if you're on long course, and orange if short course split off and went away. So just kind of keep a heads up for that. But I just wanted to mention that, Lars.
Yeah. So, and I think depending on how much tape we have, I think the first couple of, like that first run where everyone's doing the exact same thing, I think we'll let everyone know right before the race if it's going to be one color or both. But yeah, especially through that section where it has spread out. Okay, so the short course then is going to go back up towards the Camp Tex Lake property. You are inside the pace bend trails there for a while, and then you got another aid station right before the longest swim of the day, which is 1,500 plus yards, and that'll take you back to where you went into your first. Sorry, you don't go into your first swim there. It'll take you back to the Camp Tex Lake property and your final run to the finish line. And then for the long course, of course, you're going to have,
sorry about that.
The long course, you got quite a bit more. Aaron, maybe with the browser, go down to where run 4 is, where the out and back is, the far end of the course.
Down here, yeah.
So long course, pretty much, you're just going to follow signage. Everything is I think fairly straightforward up until this point. We have an out and back on course, and you're going to go out to a parking lot where we have an aid station. we're going to be giving you something that makes sure that you've made it out to that point. Most likely a wristband or something to signify that you've made it out to that point.
Yep. Oh no, Lars locked up. All right, guys, we're waiting for him to come back in here. I can pick up where he left off, and we'll give you something down there, like he said. One thing we could also try is there's an aid station down here, so we can just take the numbers of everyone that's come down here to make sure that you guys did go the full.
Where you have to trust the course map.
Lars, you cut out there for long. It was like a full 45 seconds. Are you there now? Man, he keeps cutting out, guys. Anyway, guys, like I said, down here at this aid station, there should be a volunteer that is at least down there to restock things. So once you guys get down there, they'll probably ask you for your number. That might be an easier way. Lars, you there now?
Yeah.
Okay. No one really heard what you said there beyond that you would have something to give someone down at this turnaround. But just thinking on our feet here, we're going to have an aid station with somebody down there. It'd probably be easier just to record the numbers. Did you hear me there?
No, I didn't. I think you were cut out.
No, you're cutting out in and out here. I was just saying that instead of giving someone something down at this aid station, there's going to be someone down there. They can just record the number of everyone that comes down, just as a checkpoint to make sure everyone goes down there. That might be good for that. You there?
Okay.
Yep. Go take it from there. I don't know what else you said after that. I'm sorry, I cut out. So go ahead.
So yeah, we'll just talk about what you should expect as part of this now. So, the terrain, if you followed any of our photos that we've had from our course previews and some of these various, practice events that we've done. Aaron, you can go to the next slide, actually.
Okay.
So the terrain is really uneven out there. It's rocky. There's going to be trail scrambles. There's going to be different, there's going to be some roots out there. There's going to be trees that are about head level or even lower. You'll just have to be negotiating with, with Mother Nature out there, but just be aware of what the course is going to have. Like Aaron said, we're going to have course markings out there on the course that are going to symbolize what you should be looking for, directional arrow-wise. We are going to be having coroplast signs out there, which will have arrows. Those will be placed at intersections where there's a split and you have to choose which way to go.
And those will be the same color as the flags, kind of a pinkish purple color, guys. And they're yard signs, like just the small, just staked in the ground. Lars, you muted yourself there, bud.
Yeah, believe it or not, I had to tell the children to get out of the way. And so then, so then we're also going to have the huge 12-foot teardrop flags that will be at the swim exits. For those of you who came to the course preview, we did not have any signage out symbolizing where we'd recommend you come out of the swim exits, but you'll have a few different options that you're going to be looking for to identify where the swim exits should be. The 12-foot teardrop flags. Also, you're going to have some big orange cones and then a lighted baton at each of those. So we're going to have a few different spots that you should be looking for the signage out there. We're also going to have a volunteer at each of the swim exits. They're going to be marking you when you come out of the water. So they may say, what's your race number? Your race number is going to be, on your bib, which you need to have, but they may not be able to, it might be crumbled up a little bit when you're out there. So if they ask you a question, answer them, help them out. They're going to be writing that down. That's for us as race directors to know that you made it out of the water. So, just be aware that the volunteers could be interacting with you, and that's because we've requested them to do so.
Lars, if I could interject for just 1 second, something that we ran across a little bit in 2019, sorry, was that in some of the swims, people would come out and we didn't require them to be tethered together, but they would come out on shore without their partner. Some or teammates, somehow they got, separated during the swim, and some of them wanted to actually take off. If you guys come out of the water, and your teammate is nowhere to be found, let's say they're just a slower swimmer or whatever, wait on shore for them, guys. Don't just take off, because we did have a couple people do that.
Yeah, and then we're not going to ask the volunteers to enforce the, like Aaron said, if you're waiting and there's no teammate in sight, I think that's a situation where a volunteer will flag it and will tell us about that. But we're not going to force them to make judgment calls. Just know that if you're on a team, the whole premise of this is to do this together. And so, but the aid stations that we have, it could be a really hot day out there in the middle of the trails. We have placed those aid stations at spots where, as an athlete, you should be wanting to have nutrition or hydration. We're giving you collapsible cups that you can carry with you throughout the course. We will not have paper or plastic cups out on the course. So you'll need to carry this. It folds down. Each athlete gets one. Stop at each aid station though, and make sure that you fill this up. It will have precision hydration inside of it, which is an electrolyte replacement. This is a sport where even though you're wearing a wetsuit and you may not see that you're sweating, you'll be sweating a lot. And so really it's just used as a electrolyte replacement.
What other things are you planning on? I know we've had real food at the aid stations too, but I see you're about to show the gels.
Yeah, so at the aid stations, we'll also have the science and sport gels, and then they will have some bars. And, it's completely a take what you need situation. We do have enough there. For example, if you think you're about to go into the 3.5 mile run leg, maybe you want to take a gel to stash in your wetsuit for throughout the course, throughout that run. Just keep in mind that you do have athletes coming behind you. And so don't take 5 gels, just take what you need. And so, just once again, be aware of the fact that there's other athletes out there on the course, but, there's plenty out there.
And something that should go without saying, but we always find something left behind, guys. So when you take the gels, just like any other race that you've probably ever done, there's no littering out there, obviously. Just stuff the gels in your suit or whatever, the empty wrappers. And if you absolutely had to get rid of them, you could probably give it to like a volunteer in an aid station, or there might be some trash cans out there, but definitely don't just leave it on the course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only other thing that I can see that we haven't really, and this will also be under the mandatory talking, but make sure that you do study the maps beforehand. So this is like after we've had this discussion between now and race day, make sure that you look at the course map. Not every single turn, you don't have to memorize those, but just memorize or, jot down the flow of the race. So know when there's a swim, know what the distances are of the swims, know what the run legs are, know what the distances are. What a lot of teams do will write it on the back of a paddle, and so they can have those distances right there to look at. There's a number of different ways that you can do that, but write down, but study the map because you are responsible to know where you are. We'll also put a waterproof map on each cooler, so you know where you are right now and you know it's to come, just as a reference point to have. The only other thing that I can think that we need to talk about is the rest tube that each of the solo racers will wear. We do have a few extras, and so if you're a team and you want to have one of these safety devices, you can, but for the solo athletes in the race, this is mandatory to wear. In the past, we had used a New Wave swim buoy, which you would have to carry like a football throughout the running portions. But for this one, it'll be worn around your waist, and it fits into this tiny, about the size of a wallet that can sit on the small of your back. And inside is a flotation tube. And if it does need to be activated in case of an emergency, or you need to, symbolize get a boat's attention or something like that out there, there's a cord that can be pulled that will inflate the inner tube. And we can show you what that looks like. We'll have some examples on race site. But for short course athletes, just know that we are providing you with this. For a long course for solo athletes in both the short course and the long course, we will provide you with that. If you're a team, you can rent one of those from us for the race. But for the short course, for the solo, it is mandatory, and we will provide it for you for both the long course and the short course.
Lars, question that I know we've gotten before. Can the solo racers, instead of that rest tube that we're going to give them to use and return at the finish, can they use a buoy like the New Wave swim buoy instead and use that tow behind instead of the rest tube?
Absolutely. Anyone can use a flotation buoy that they have and are comfortable swimming with. So, if that's something that you want to have with you, then absolutely bring a New Wave swim buoy or the like with you.
And if I could just interject a couple more things here before we get away from this, things that we need back at the finish line this year, guys, it's a little different. If you have those rest tubes, whether you rented it or whether we gave you one in your solo, we need that back at the finish. We are doing chip timing on this. It's not manual. So teams will get one chip and solo will get their own chip too. It doesn't matter on the team who wears it, but at the end, you need to give us that chip and the strap back. Those are not disposable. Those don't go home with you. And then we're reusing the bibs this year, the singlet, the number things that Lars just had up on the screen there. We got a lot of you that said, it's great if we get those, but we don't really do anything with them, guys. You need to just reuse them and quit wasting. So we listened to you guys, and we're going to reuse them, wash them afterwards, and use them again next year. So everybody at the finish, if you guys could take those off, we'll probably have like a bucket or a bag or something to put those in. So if we could get those back from you, that'd be great too, guys.
And then in your race packet, so in addition to the collapsible cup that we showed you earlier, you'll also be getting a swim cap. So Aaron, was it long course is orange and short course is yellow?
Opposite.
So long course, yellow, both individuals and teams. Short course, orange. So each person will have that in their goodie bag. And then each person will have, again, if you're a long course, you'll have one of the yellow bibs, and if you're short course, you'll have one of the orange bibs. Those will be provided in your goodie bags.
Yep.
The only other mandatory stuff that you need to bring, a compression bandage. So I think people overthink this one a lot, but a compression bandage, think of it like if you fall and trip on a trail and there's no medic around nearby, this is simply something to stop the bleeding until you can get further help. So you can go to CVS, you can go to Walmart, just find some gauze, something that can wrap around and that you can stop to apply bleeding if you were to trip and have a big gash on the trail. If you can't find one that actually has a waterproof pack that it comes in, put it in a Ziploc bag. The way that you stash all of this stuff is inside of your wetsuit. They have pockets. There's some brands that you wear like an undergarment, and they have pockets. Arc has one called a kangaroo top, but there are other variations of these. So you carry all of this on you. And then everyone also has to have a whistle. So, that's one whistle per person. And the whistle is meant to get the attention of your teammate, get the attention of another, of a medic who's out on a safety boat, on a kayak. But but we need everyone to have a whistle in case of emergency.
So Lars, real quick while you're talking about this, just to go over, at Packet Pickup, guys, we are sanctioned by USA Triathlon. You do not have to have a license or any of that. But this year, because we kind of came to the game late with USA Triathlon, they've been generous enough to just sanction it, and it's not the normal process where it's verified online with you guys and all of that. So we do need each of you to sign a USA Triathlon waiver in person at Packet Pickup in order to pick up your packet, which also means that you'll need to show government ID as well, some type of photo government ID. In the future races, that'll all be verified online. You'll just need an ID when you show up, but you won't need to sign anything. When you get to Packet Pickup, you will need to bring your ID. You'll also need to bring that compression bandage, the whistle that Lars talked about, your Swimrun wetsuit, and this is all per person. Those are the things you need to bring, and the tether, which Lars will talk about in a minute. And we'll provide for you the swim cap that he showed you, the bib/singlet, the number bib. We provide the timing chip and strap, also the silicone cup, a bag that will put all that in for you. The solo people will get that rest tube rental from us for free. We'll give that to you. If you want to pay to rent one and you're on a team, that's fine. We can do that there too. And so that's kind of how Packet Pickup's going to go, guys.
Yeah, great. And so then, really the only other, they're optional items. So we talked about all the mandatory. We get a lot of questions about the wetsuits, and, I think we need to also say that a mandatory item at Packet Pickup that you need to bring is a wetsuit. We just had a 10-degree temperature drop this past week. There was a cold front that came through, all of Texas. And so the water has gotten colder. It's probably around 70 degrees. Currently, I do not see a possibility for there to be wetsuits will be mandatory at this point. But what is absolute mandatory is that you bring your wetsuit to Packet Pickup. And at that time, we're going to make a race director discretion whether or not what the wetsuit situation is going to be like on race day. But 100% wetsuits will be allowed, 100% no matter what the weather condition is. So they're faster, they provide you more flotation. Veteran swim runners know how to peel these things on and off to use to their advantage. So 100% they will be allowed. Whether we make them mandatory on race day, that's something entirely different. However, you are mandatory that you bring them to Packet Pickup on Saturday.
And to be clear, when Lars said, for those of you that haven't really used one before, and this is your first swim run, when he said peel the wetsuit down, he means to the waist. You're not taking it off between each swim and run and all that. And then the other thing too, if you are planning on doing this in a triathlon wetsuit, think that through. Lars, how many people have you seen since you started this do them in triathlon wetsuits?
I mean, nowadays that they have the swim run specific suit, it's less common. But I mean, the first one that I ever did, I did it in a triathlon wetsuit. I know that, look, you don't know if you'll do this sport again, so you don't want to invest in a new suit. Totally understand. It is doable in a triathlon wetsuit. It will be difficult to get that on and off. If you have a teammate, it's a little easier. Otherwise you're going to be making friends. If you're a solo racer, making friends with the racers who are around you. Some of you have already rented the ARC wetsuits. About 20 of you rented ARC wetsuits. So you can pick those up on Saturday. Those are 24-hour rentals. Our buddies, the Low Tide Boys, also created a document that has where veteran swim runners are allowing people to loan or to rent swim run wetsuits. I'd say there's about a dozen suits that have been put onto that, but all different sizes. Not a great guarantee for you, but an option out there for you. So those will be on hand on Saturday. That's a first come first serve type of situation. So like we said, there's no guarantees on that, but people are trying. This is also the way that the swim run community works. I mean, people want everyone else to succeed. And so it's just a great gesture for the Low Tide boys to put this together. But like I said, there should be about a dozen different suits and sizes. But if you are in need of a suit, you better get there early on Saturday to, to see if that's something that you can get your hands on.
All right.
Yeah, let's go here to just briefly race morning. And then we
The
got to.
no, you missed one at the bottom here. The no diving or jumping.
Oh, that's really important, actually. Thank you.
Yep.
So no diving and jumping. That means every time you enter the water, absolutely never go in head first. The water level, especially in Lake Travis here, it gets it's really low right now, and so I mean that means we don't know what is below us in the water. The water can be pretty murky on occasion. And so, you don't know if there's trees down there with branches sticking up, if there's jagged rocks. That's going to be a DQ automatically if we see anyone go in head first. That's safety 101. On the 2 cliff jumps, those are spots that have been identified are safe, meaning there are not, it's deep enough where you won't hit any rocks. There are also options to just walk in. You don't have to cliff jump, but we have identified already that there is not, those are deep enough where you don't have to worry about rocks in the water section there. But just going into any of these swims, don't go in head first because you don't know what is out there in front of you.
And real quick, Lars, and this is all I have to say on it. Medical, the kayaks, we're going to have 3 jet skis out there, guys, for quick water rescue and evac if needed. Those jet skis will be positioned on different parts of this race, east, west, north. And then on each swim, there'll be at least 1 kayak. A lot of the swims have more than one. Those will be manned with experienced kayakers and or lifeguards as well. We have medics on the shore, 5 medics. Those medics, for the most part, will be positioned around the swim exits. They may have to leave if they're called away, but we wanted them positioned all over the course at the exits. So we will have that medical out there. If any of you guys have done any of the triathlons I put on in the past, we're using the same medical company for this race. They do a great job. And I know, Lars, you actually were talking to me about when they're swimming, they may not be able to see the exit until they get up and see the flag and the light wand and all of that. Can you talk briefly about, once they get in, just kind of hugging the shore and trusting that it'll be there and how to identify that and do all that?
Yeah, mostly what we mean by that is there are a few swims where you're swimming around a peninsula. When Pace Bend Park is a peninsula that juts into Lake Travis. And so you're swimming between coves, and there are a few spots where we're swimming you to a natural exit point. And so on the maps that we've created, it looks like you're swimming past other coves. There won't be an exit point at the coves that you're swimming past. And so we have you exiting certain points because that is where you can get out of the water. But you'll always be swimming very close to the shoreline, or you have the option to swim very close to the shoreline. There should never be a situation where you're swimming in the middle of the lake. So when you're thinking about this, think of it as a swimming pool, and you're swimming kind of next to the boundary of the lane line. You want to be swimming reasonably close to the shoreline, versus swimming in the middle of the river.
So for a majority of these, Lars, when you get in, most of them, you're not going to be able to see the exit point items that we have for them to identify. They have to just kind of swim the direction we're sending them, hug the shore a reasonable amount, and just trust that eventually they're going to see that on the right or left as they're swimming, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with what you're saying, I would swim until you see you're going to have to be looking up to identify lots of things, that you're going in a straight line, that you're, avoiding a kayak or a boat that is part of our, race, avoiding other swimmers. But just like in a triathlon where you're identifying the next swim buoy to swim to, here you're looking for this pink flag out on the shoreline for your swim exit. So yeah, there's probably 2 or 3 situations on this course where you'll be swimming without being able to see where that swim exit is right away. Just keep swimming. You will see a pink, all 3 of those things, and that will symbolize where you should be getting out.
And guys, last thing on this, when you're swimming in the water, I mean, if you're looking and you see 2, 3 kayaks on this map, it looks like they're close together. I mean, think about this. If it's a 1,600-yard swim and we have 2 or 3 kayaks spread out, I mean, you're talking anywhere from 500-600 meters apart. They're not close together. That being said, there's a lot more swimming and training for swimming involved with Swimrun. It's not like a triathlon where there's hundreds of people in the water at the same time. Oftentimes there may only be 3, 4, 5 teams in the water at once. So the kayaks are able to kind of look at that from a perspective of kind of following them along to a certain degree. So there may not be as many kayaks out there. You may not be able to, rest kayak to kayak or anything like that. If you get in trouble out there, that's what the rest tube's for. That's what the whistle's for. And also, you should be close enough to shore where if you absolutely had to and no one was around, you were having some trouble, you could work your way onto the rocks. It's not ideal, but it's safer than staying in the middle of the water, right, Lars?
Absolutely. And I mean, it happens out there where maybe you have a cramp in the middle of a swim. If you have a teammate, they can, help you to, roll over or, this, that, or the other, put the tether on, keep swimming for you. But, that's an advantage to having that shoreline so close is, if you get a cramp and you're having trouble moving forward, yeah, like Aaron said, get over to that shoreline and grab onto a rock and hang onto the rock for a little while till it works itself out. So, this course is really swimming friendly, actually, for that very reason, is that you have land near you at all times.
All right, so we went over the mandatory equipment here, Lars.
Yeah, we should go to race morning.
Okay.
I mean, all this information is as well as on our website. So, do a deep dive onto our website. We skipped over the optional equipment, and the optional equipment is things that we've communicated this enough by now. And that's just everything that is within the rules to use. And so we're not going to go over that right now. But we're going to go over the race morning schedule. And Aaron, do you actually want to talk about this? Because I think.
Yeah. So with COVID being a big deal still, guys, we are going to take some measures for that. We have a document that's kind of very extensive. We'll create a PDF out of that and send it to you guys in the coming days here this week leading into the race. But the main points of that we want to talk about are at the start, also during the race, and then at the finish line. So I'll talk about the race start here and then how we're implementing some of those procedures, and then pass it back off to Lars. So when you get there, we're assuming most of you are going to have masks with you. By now, distancing is a way of life. Wearing masks for some of us from out of state is a way of life. I think it's a little more relaxed in Texas. I'm up here in Michigan, and we've got to wear them quite a bit, pretty much everywhere. But when you arrive, just kind of keep that practice. Keep your distance from people that you're not there with and that aren't your own household or however that goes. But during packet pickup, we'll have it spaced out. We're gonna use short cones. So the cones he was talking about at the swim exits are going to be big. They're, I think, 28-inch or 32-inch cones, maybe even bigger. But we're going to have small, like 18-inch ones, traffic cones, that we'll use throughout Saturday and Sunday to kind of space you guys out. So when you see those, most of the time, that's going to be something we want you to kind of stand by. And we'll put those about 6 feet or more apart. So for packet pickup, we'll have a line of cones, just kind of, I mean, it's like in the grocery store, at least up here. I'm sure it's everywhere, where they have the circles on the ground and says stand here. Those are 6 feet apart. Same kind of deal with the cones. They're easy for us to move and you to identify. When you come up for packet pickup, we'll do our best to space everything out that you have to pick up. It might all be in a bag, or it might be in separate piles on the table, and you go along and pick up your stuff. Most of that, except for the bib and the timing chips will be generic stuff that's the same for everybody. Swim caps, cups, bags, things like that. So just grab one out of the pile, work your way through, and just be patient. It's going to take us a little bit longer. Usually packet pickup's only an hour, but I think we have it 3 or 4 hours for this. So that's why, just to give you guys a little more time and us some more time so we stay organized. And we'll have on all the tables throughout this whole thing, we'll have sanitizer, some extra masks. We're going to take your temperature also with, we just have the forehead reader. Should be nice and quick as you go through line. We'll do that during packet pickup, just so we can identify anyone. We don't expect really to find anyone, but just to be a little extra safe there. You'll get your packet. We do have the 5K and the kids race the day before. This will be going on during those races, and we have an extra hour after both of those are completed for any of you that are taking part in that or that have kids that are doing that, so you'll have time as well. When that's all done, we'll have a briefing. We probably won't go over all this stuff that we're going over now. We'll go over anything that's kind of changed, like maybe the wetsuit rules have changed a little as far as whether we're going to require them or not. Remember, you do have to bring them with you to packet pickup, check in with them, but maybe during the briefing, Lars and John will be out there setting the course. They'll know, they'll take the temperature and actually give you guys an update on that. For the briefing itself, you guys can spread out. We'll have plenty of room there. The weather looks great. It'll be outside. No reason to go inside for that. Should be able to stay safe. You guys are all adults. You know what 6 feet or more is. You guys can spread out. You've been doing it a while. So after that's all done, next morning, you guys show up for the start. How it's going to work here, we surprisingly have about an equal breakup of 50 teams and 50 solo for short course and for long course. So long course is going to start. The announcements are at, if you're not staying there, 6 a.m. is when it's going to kind of open parking, all that kind of stuff. 6:45 is we're going to have announcements and the anthem and all that. It'll give us 15 minutes to roll into the 7 a.m. start. The 7 a.m. start for long course, we'll have an official start line, which will be marked by an inflatable. And then we're going to have those small orange cones positioned going back 6 feet in a line, about 50 of those deep, 6 feet apiece, 300 feet. And you guys first will do the solo course for long course, and that'll position all those athletes out. We'll do about 15 seconds between each athlete there, and then maybe give it an extra few minutes or maybe 5 at most before we start the long course. So that should go about, we should be able to start long course right after, our long course teams, after long course solo. Same kind of deal. Each team stands by a cone, and then you're about 15 seconds apart. That should spread everyone out enough on the course. We're going to do the same thing at 8 o'clock with the short course. It'll be short course solo first, then short course team, same procedure. Now, when you guys are out there, you're going to pass each other. Just distance yourself as you do. Be respectful of that. The only time we're going to require that you wear a mask on race day is before the start, and we will have enough there. If you want to bring your own disposable mask, that's fine. You're going to wear that until you get up to the cone that's right at the start line. Then you can toss it in a garbage can that's there. So you can bring your own disposable mask, or you can wear ours that are there. Prior to that, we are not going to supply you with a mask. Like during packet pickup and all that, bring your own for that. But on race morning, you can use ours and trash it right when you get to the start. And then during the race, we don't require you to wear a mask at all. We just ask that when you roll up on like a aid station or whatever, that you're aware of the people you're around. Our volunteer that's going to be there will only be for answering questions and restocking the aid station. And our volunteers will have masks on. The ones at aid stations, when they're restocking, will have gloves on. We'll have some extra gloves there. If you guys want to wear them, you don't have to. We'll have some extra hand sanitizer, some wipes, whatever you want. We're not going to force you to do anything there. Just be respectful of others around you. But when you're done, throw all that out. You guys are going to fill your own cups, take your own gels and bars and all of that, and you're responsible for yourself 100%. You're manually doing all of that, okay? And then at the end, when you guys cross the line and you give back your chips and you give back your bibs and the rest tubes that we give the solo athletes, then we're going to have a pre-packaged meal for you. We'll have sanitizer, and we'll have some masks for you there as well at the post-race if you want to wear those when you need to. Otherwise, just distance as much as you can. And then as far as the awards, we're not going to do what we typically do where we call everyone up, and that would be 40 plus places that we give awards to. If you're top three in the all males, all females, mixed category, and then for solo, it would just be top three male and female overall, and then long and short course there. If you are not, if you're not the overalls, we're going to ask that you just come up and claim, if you're top three, just come up and claim your coffee mug. We give, they're kind of like this, except they're for Austin. And you're going to come up and claim those. But the overall winners, not top three, but the overall winners are going to get something special in addition to that. And we'll have an actual ceremony for those. And that's about 10 people. So that kind of limits all of that interaction a little bit. So I don't know where Lars is. I think it might have kicked him off because we might have hit our time for Zoom here. So I'll just continue and go over this stuff with you guys. We'll have awards at 11, and that'll just be the overalls. The rest of you claim those cups, like I said. 2 p.m., the course is officially closed. Restroom facilities will be at the start and finish, and some of the camp areas, showers at the finish if you want them, parking, and I already went over COVID. So let me go on to the next one here, guys. Actually, that was it. We're done. So he almost made it to the end, guys. It kicked him off, but I'm glad I could finish this up with you. Any questions you guys have, you're more than welcome to post. We're going to post this so you can comment on that, and then just bring those with you to the briefing, which will just be kind of a Q&A at this point. So we're really looking forward to having you guys out there. We had to cancel every single event this year except for this one, and we're super excited to have you guys join us. And I guess that's about it, guys. So take care, and we'll talk to you soon.